What's happening, fam? L.A.R. movement still moving. Book is entitled Lessons from a Non-Custodial Father at Amazon Kindle Create Space. Link will be in the description box below as usual. Go get it. PayPal link there also. They asked me to put it up, so I put it up. Thanks everybody for support. This video is entitled Metropolitan American Expectations. So I'm out yesterday and I'm on the phone talking and I'm replaying some things that happened when I was younger all the way to now. And part of the conversation we was talking to a degree was American-wide, nationally, and internationally. And we forget that a lot of our expectations are built because we grew up in cities. A lot of us grew up in metropolitan America. A lot of us didn't grow up in the country. People forget that America is majority country, not majority cities, right? So our expectations to a degree come from being city slickers, right? Our comforts and our being used to amenities, it doesn't, and even when people travel abroad, you forget, you're comparing where you grew up to where you're going. Different life, different culture, different, whether you consider someplace first world or third world. A lot of times you get on a plane, train, automobile, whatever, and you go from one place to the next and you're comparing it to where you came from. Everything isn't as good or is better than where you came from. The cost of living is different than where you came from. Is it worth living in here? Because, one of the things about metropolitan America is 9 times out of 10, you're going to be able to make more money there. That's why when you get into certain major cities, there's an influx of people who are not from that city, because they found opportunities in that city that they didn't find in their hometown, And when you think of America, America isn't is really based on major cities. And even if you are a sports fan, there are teams in 32 different cities, but even all of those aren't necessarily considered the best American cities. You might have 5 to 10, L.A., New York, Chicago, Miami, Atlanta, either you could say Dallas or Houston. Pretty much outside of that, everything else is second tier. People don't look at Charlotte in the same light, or St. Louis, or even Vegas, or New Orleans, or Memphis. You know what I'm saying? Indianapolis, not looked at in the same light. Detroit is, I guess, trying to rise again, but it's not a, it's different, and every city has its differences. Because I was clowning with a friend of mine about the skyline in Chicago, and I said every time I would go back, and then I would get on the plane and I come back to Texas, I'd be like, why am I here? Because the skyline in Chicago is just phenomenal. But I'm not dealing with 9 months of winter. I'm just not going to do it. But that was the same thing like when I landed in Vegas. It reminds you, damn, things are drastically different. They could be beautiful in their own way, but they're drastically different. And then our expectations of people, for the most part, are built on our metropolitan expectations. The American dream is not based on rural America. It's based on the top tier, 5 to 10 percentile of Americans who are living in opulence, who are living great in metropolitan areas. The rich people in the country, you don't even think about them. The farmers that are millionaires, you don't even think about them. People working, the people that own oil rigs out in the sticks, you don't even think about them. The people who who are fishermen and have boats on in the Gulf and in the coast, you know, you don't even think about them. And some of them have those boats in metropolitan cities. You know, you think it's not people out in Seattle that's doing that. You don't think it's people all in the panhandle of Florida, all the whole coast, actually, the whole Gulf Coast from Texas all the way to Florida. There are a lot of fishermen out there, right? But no, you don't think about that part. That's a whole nother economy that people forget about because it's not based in the metropolitan life. A lot of times we think about American comforts, we want to say white collar corporate. Why do we say white collar corporate? Because we look at it as a high paying industry that is very much so stacked with amenities. You can make a lot of money in a nice building with AC and heat and computers and desks, and you won't sweat, and you won't toil over anything. You just typing away. You're on the telephone chit chatting, whether it's on business or pleasure. You know, we think of it as a leisurely sense. You know, to the point where sometimes when people go out of the country, some people can't handle it, because that's part of the conversation that we was having. That, you know, some people go out of the country and they have their metropolitan American expectations, and they become real brats to people in their own home or homeland or home country. Because I want, you know, in America it's like this. Well, you ain't in America. If you wanted that American thing, should have took your ass somewhere in America. You know, that's just the reality of it. Because when people go outside the resorts, they act real funny. And because thinking about the people that died in the Dominican Republic, and people that more people died and got killed in Cancun. But you know, I've always known, you know, my friends tell me, family tell me the same thing, that some people go places and they don't know how to act. And it's the same thing from city to city, you know. When I don't live in the cities that I grew up in. So I understand that my mentality is a guest in where I'm at. Like if I went back to Chicago, I could fit right in perfectly because my mentality is still that. You know what I'm saying? If I go back to New Orleans, I could fit in because I still have part of that mentality. Even if I go to the DMV, still have part of that mentality. But in Texas, it's a whole different mentality. And I can't change my mentality. And truth be told, I don't want to. So my responses and reactions are different because of my expectations and reactions to how people are, because I'm still operating on that ideology. So I say that to say, you know, you don't realize that you're a guest, even if you create a home for yourself somewhere else, because what happens where I'm from, how we get down, where I'm from, how I grew, where you ain't where you from. You gonna have to make the adjustment. They don't have to adjust to you. They have their own culture that was here before you got here, right? Now, if you can't hack it, that's your problem. Truth be told. But the reason I say that is to say, you know, I've done it and I've seen it done where people go places and they take where they're from with them, and they think it's going to work the same way because they feel like where they're from is up here and where they're at is down here, and that ain't a good idea. And sometimes it's the vice versa. When somebody sees you, you know, oh, this is a newcomer, they, you know, I can get over on them because it's a different culture. That don't work well either. Because what if I, you know, and I've been in these situations personally where people think, oh, you ain't from here, let me get over on you how we get over on people out here. You'll never see it coming. I'm not going to respond to you how people out here respond to people. We're going to have a real issue that I'm bringing from that mentality that I have up there. And then you're going to go, whoa. You see, it don't end like that where we at. It don't take it that far. I'm like, I don't care. That's how far we take it. What's your problem? You know, which, you know, unfortunately could cause more harm than good. So over years I've learned just to walk away from people. And I can tell you this, even from that experience, a lot of times, and everybody from Chi, they about to know what I'm saying. People mistake our indifference for humility or softness, not understanding that sometimes we're walking away not because, or we're not saying anything, or we're not engaging with you, not because we're humble or soft. We're trying to be the bigger person. It's because we're trying to get away from the situation before we really snap off and try to kill you. Because that ain't gonna, it's like too many witnesses, too many people. I ain't got time for this. I gotta go. I'm gonna chill out. And everybody who's paid attention, a lot of people from certain parts of Chicago, they're really there's quietness, but there's a certain angst if you pay attention. And if they do something, then all of a sudden it's popping like I've been waiting all day to do this, and that's what that is. But I just had to say that because New Orleans is more so how can I say this, up front in your face with it. The DMV was kind of like a mix of both to me, depending on who you was dealing with. Because Baltimore is different from DC for y'all, and that's different from Virginia. So that's why I say it's a mix, because Baltimore's mentality is different from DC's and it's different from Virginia's. So depending on who you dealing with and where they from, you gonna get a completely different outcome, and they're gonna expect completely different things. But these are just my thoughts on this topic. So I'm done. Like, share, subscribe. Catch y'all on the next one. Peace.